Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is the place where we distill complex source material into immediate and usable insight. We know your time is valuable, so our mission today is to cut right through the noise and give you the knowledge you need, straight from the research. Today, we are unpacking a really powerful and, I think, very specific deep dive. It's into this concept of personal aura. And our analysis is rooted in the work of an engineer, Reuben Juma Onunga, which is fascinating. He uses the structural thinking, from civil engineering foundations, load paths, all that unseen stuff, and he applies it directly to our inner life.
Right, which is such a unique lens.
It is, and the central idea is this. Your aura isn't some vague, mystical thing.
No, not at all.
It's the total atmosphere, the climate created by your inner life, and it's expressed non-verbally through your presence. He calls it, and this phrase is so potent, the invisible CV that walks ahead of you everywhere you go. Okay, so let's unpack this. Why is this so crucial for you, listening right now? Well, in this busy, high-stakes world, judgments are just made instantly. And that invisible CV, that atmosphere you carry, it's the primary factor that determines whether opportunities, trust, influence, whether those things flow towards you or are just quietly repelled.
Well, what's so fascinating here is that structural lens he uses. He insists that we have to stop focusing only on the visible facade.
The resume,
The resume, the expensive clothing, your titles, all of it. And instead, we have to look at the engineering. He treats a person like a building. He's intensely focused on those subterranean foundations, the unseen internal structures like thoughts, beliefs, and character.
Okay.
And if that foundation is cracked or if the internal load paths are compromised, then, well, no amount of impressive paint is going to protect that structure when stress arrives.
Right, when the pressure hits.
When conflict, crisis, or pressure arrives, and your aura, it's simply the current state of that structure leaking out for everyone to see.
I love that image. The structure failing under a load and just revealing the truth underneath it all. So if we follow this blueprint, where's the engine room? If the aura is the climate, what's actually producing it? The source says it starts, fundamentally, with our thoughts and our core beliefs.
It does, and this is where we really have to shift our perspective on what a thought is. Thoughts aren't just, private entertainment. They are the raw material for the atmosphere you create.
The building blocks.
The building blocks. The source points to that ancient wisdom. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, and it translates this into a practical law. A mind that is habitually focused on fear or bitterness or cynicism will just inevitably produce that kind of environment.
You can feel it.
You can absolutely feel it. Whereas a mind focused on gratitude, on solutions, on grounded truth that generates reliability and steadiness.
And beliefs, then, sound like they're the deeper, slower currents underneath all those daily thoughts.
Exactly. Beliefs are the operating system of the soul. They are the deep, often unquestioned patterns that you use to interpret every single event, every interaction, every piece of feedback.
Wow.
And here's a powerful aha moment from the source. If your core operating system is running on, say, corrupted software, a deep hidden belief like, I am not enough, or I must always defend myself.
A virus in the system.
It's a virus. Then your outer life, your aura, it will constantly run in defense mode. And the consequences are so practical. You might sabotage your own success. You could struggle with intimacy. Or you consistently interpret neutral feedback as a personal attack. Because your inner structure is it's programmed for fear.
But the author goes even deeper than thoughts and beliefs. He talks about the spirit of a man as the deepest core of this engine room. For listeners who might not use spiritual language, how do we understand that? What does he mean?
That's a really important question. Within this structural framework, the spirit is essentially the core motivational drive. It's the ultimate posture of your will in relation to life, the deepest source of your vitality.
Okay, I see.
The source material, for instance, references the difference between a gentle and quiet spirit and a broken spirit that dries the bones. A wounded spirit, one that's carrying deep, unprocessed pain from, say, betrayal or chronic shame, produces an aura of profound distrust, of coldness, or just subtle defensiveness.
And that must leak out in everything.
It leaks out not as specific anger, maybe, but as a consistent lack of relational warmth. It often shows up as control or suspicion in every single interaction.
So we're really talking about infrastructural damage here. You can't just You can't just put up new wallpaper if the foundations are cracked.
You absolutely cannot. The engineering parallel is crucial. Until you address that deepest structural infrastructure, the thoughts and emotions flowing from it are just going to remain polluted and unstable. So healing, in this context, it requires real honesty, a willingness to confront those inner wounds, especially where they've distorted your fundamental view of safety and trust.
Okay, let's transition now to what the source calls the two most visible ingredients. Character, which is the backbone, and then emotions, which are the weather. Let's start with that emotional climate.
Emotion is the weather. It determines the visibility and the feel of life. And when emotions are unmanaged, they immediately distort the atmosphere.
How so?
Well, think about chronic anger or irritation. It creates an aura that truly crackles. It's like static electricity in the air. You can feel the tension. And the people around you, whether it's colleagues or family, they feel like they have to walk on eggshells. They're dedicating their emotional energy just to managing your volatility. And the same thing goes for chronic anxiety. It leaks out. It leaks out as tension, indecision, clinginess, and it makes your presence feel fragile, easily agitated.
I wonder, though, with modern life being so intense, isn't emotional stewardship just a fancy word for suppression? We're always told we need to express our feelings, not bottle them up.
That raises a really important question, and the source addresses this head on. The goal is neither suppression, shoving feelings down until they explode.
Right. Nor is it just dumping your emotional mess onto other people. The goal is stewardship. And the practical tool here is the internal pause.
With a pause.
The pause. When you feel that intense wave of anger or fear, just pausing, maybe naming the feeling, and intentionally regulating your breathing, it does vital work. Physiologically, you are shifting control away from that reactive part of your brain, the amygdala, back to the prefrontal cortex. That tiny pause buys your mind the time it needs to choose a response that's rooted in your character, not just in raw reaction. That slight delay, that intentional delay, that sounds like the very moment where integrity is born. Okay, let's move from that immediate emotional weather to character, the backbone. Why does the author call character the foundational weight?
Because character, and we're defining that by integrity, honesty, and a consistent application of values, it's the non-negotiable stability in the structural model. A person can have immense charm, brilliance, all these surface qualities, but if their character is weak, they're like a beautiful skyscraper built on hollow pillars.
It looks good until the storm hits.
Exactly. It looks impressive until the seismic stress hits. The source highlights that a good name is more desirable than great riches. Your good name is simply the reputation of your character. It's the quiet, essential currency that buys trust, loyalty, and real influence, especially when you're not in the room.
So how does that structural weight actually accumulate?
It's built in small, unseen choices. It is not built during the big public victory speech. It's built by keeping small promises no one else remembers, or returning the extra change the cashier gave you, refusing to participate in gossip, confessing a minor mistake instead of hiding it.
The little things.
That consistency accumulates a structural weight in your aura. In a workplace, a leader with strong character makes the team feel safe, even in the middle of severe conflict, because their decisions are predictable and just. But a leader with those hollow pillars, they force the team to spend all their energy managing fear and mistrust of the leader, not solving the actual problems. Power doesn't build character.
It reveals it.
It just reveals the structure that was already there.
Okay, let's talk about the practical spillover. I mean, the engineer's mindset is so evident here because the source emphasizes that the daily, the mundane things, our habits, our physical environments, those are the tracks your life runs on.
Indeed, and those tracks are where your aura is broadcast non-verbally every single day. Your body and your voice are constantly transmitting information. And when your words and your nonverbal language contradict each other...
Like saying, I value you while you're checking your phone.
Exactly. Or claiming, I'm confident, while you're slouching and avoiding eye contact. People believe the body and the tone every single time. Your true structural state leaks right through those nonverbal channels.
Can you give us a few practical nonverbal things that immediately affect our aura?
Absolutely. Think about posture. Upright but relaxed communicates both presence and self-respect. It suggests you're grounded and available. Or eye contact. Steady but not invasive communicates, I see you and you are worth my complete attention.
That's huge.
It is, and critically, your tone of voice. A calm, measured, soft answer turns away wrath, as the source reminds us. A controlled tone can bring peace, it can de-escalate conflict, and it demonstrates that your internal engine room isn't seizing up.
And that stability is so deeply tied to our daily routines, our habits. What specific habits do we need to check if we want a more robust aura?
Well, the source is specific about habits that erode respect. Chronic lateness, for example, communicates subtle disrespect. My convenience is more important than your time.
Ouch. Yeah.
Another one is living in chronic physical disorder. Clutter. That chaos actually trains your mind to accept disorder, and that disorganized state seeps into your aura as distraction. The engineer reminds us that order in your physical space is a way of honoring yourself and respecting the mental space of others.
And we absolutely have to talk about the modern challenge here, the digital aura.
Oh, this is maybe the most significant structural weakness we face today. The constant checking, the scrolling, living in perpetual response to notifications. It trains the brain to exist in fragments. You literally lose the ability for sustained, deep focus. And this fragmentation creates a thin, brittle, perpetually distracted aura. We are constantly here, but never really fully present.
And the solution isn't just turning your phone off once a month, is it? It has to be more structural.
It requires intentional discipline. Setting deliberate boundaries like phone-free family time or an hour of quiet focus in the morning. You can't constantly fill your mind with noise and emotional fragments and then expect to carry a peaceful, focused presence when you walk into a crucial meeting. That boundary is an act of self-stewardship that restores the inner rhythm you need for a deep aura.
So bringing this into the workplace, how does a robust aura affect your influence beyond just your title on a business card?
Well, aura determines true, sustained leadership, regardless of your formal rank. When a crisis hits, the person with the calm, solution-oriented presence immediately becomes the natural pillar in the office architecture.
The anchor.
They're the anchor. They aren't always the loudest, but they're the most sought after because they refuse to panic. Their stability grounds the team's collective emotional weather, and this is where that character shines. True reliability, honesty, and treating the so-called invisibles, the cleaners, junior staff, security guards, with genuine, consistent respect. That projects a far stronger, more trustworthy aura than any surface-level performance.
Okay, let's turn to the necessary topic of pain. If I'm listening to this and my structural integrity, my aura, is wounded by betrayal or failure or burnout, how do I even begin the difficult process of healing it?
First, we have to acknowledge the defensive reaction, which is to harden the aura, to adopt suspicion, cynicism, to close yourself off. It feels safe, but it's a self-imposed prison.
Right. It keeps the bad stuff out, but the good stuff too.
Exactly. It protects you from future pain, but it also locks out future joy, connection, and grace. So healing is a process of structural reconstruction and stewardship, not escape. The source material offers 4 specific structural steps for dealing with deep wounds. 1 is telling the raw truth about the pain, even the ugly parts. I am angry. I feel abandoned. 2, grieving the loss fully instead of burying it under slogans or just being busy. 3 is forgiveness. This is the vital choice to release the bitterness, to refuse to let that pain colonize and permanently darken your inner world. Forgiveness is structural maintenance for your soul.
And what's the 4th step? You mentioned community.
4 is engaging that community. Mentors, counselors, people to help you untangle the complex knots of pain that you simply cannot see on your own. We can't perform major structural repairs on ourselves in isolation.
And since relationships are so contagious, what about managing those toxic connections that threaten to constantly rewound you?
We have to manage them with what the source calls the gates of wisdom, which are boundaries. Boundaries are not hatred. They're not permanent separation. They are simply clarity. Clarity about what is your responsibility and what is not, and clarity about what behavior you will or will not tolerate in your inner atmosphere. They are essential to protecting that reconstruction work.
And the result of that healing?
The result is powerful. A healed aura is deep, compassionate, and resilient. It carries scars, which are evidence of surviving and learning. It doesn't carry venom, and it silently whispers to others, it is possible to survive this and choose not to become bitter.
What an incredible synthesis. We've moved from the deep inner engine room of beliefs all the way through the weather of our emotions, the weight of our character, our daily habits, and managing the digital landscape. So what does this all mean for the long game? This leads to the final concept, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The legacy aura.
It does. Legacy aura is the lasting trace of your presence. It's the fragrance that remains in people's hearts and minds when your name is spoken, long after you're gone. And it is not built by possessions or titles. It's built by faithfulness and small, consistent acts of character. Listening honestly, honoring other people's time, choosing to speak blessing and truth. demonstrating reliability. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source presents the ultimate measure quite starkly. Did your presence, your unique aura, make it easier or harder for others to trust, to hope, and to believe in the possibility of good? That is the final structural verdict on the climate you chose to carry.
The major takeaway here, for you listening, is that aura transformation is not one huge dramatic leap. It's the steady result of small daily structural alignments. So the invitation is simple. Choose one poison thought to challenge today. Choose one area of clutter in your life or office to clear. Choose one digital boundary to enforce starting now. Start small, build consistency, and watch the climate shift.
The goal, really, is alignment. When you align your inner life, your thoughts, your beliefs, your character with truth and grace, you don't have to waste energy manufacturing or faking your presence. Your aura becomes a natural, honest, and reliable outflow of who you are truly becoming. So here's a provocative closing thought for you to carry into your day. The next time you are preparing to enter a space, be it a family dinner, a client meeting, or a team briefing, pause at the door and ask yourself the single question. If my inner life were visible, what kind of weather report would I be posting on the wall? And is that the climate I want to leave behind for the people in that room?